Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna dive right in. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, so that's the plan. But I wanted to give you a little bit of backstory here because tonight I kind of want to talk about, the last 2 months, when bonus season hit, what changed for me, and then how it changed. So like give you some steps to kind of focus on, think about moving forward in your business and just kind of assess. So I started back last July. So I've been in about maybe almost 9 months now. I did hit 4K in my first month here. And then I was kind of stagnant. I maintained 4K, but I was just kind of stuck there. And for me, I think a lot of it was the mindset. And I'll go a little bit into that, but in the last 2 months, I was able to take my account from 4K. I was able to lock in 12K and then actually lock in 4K both. So 12K in my account, 4K in my husband's account. And then, so that was last month. And then this month, I actually maintained 12K in my account and then brought his account to 12K. So obviously, there was a lot of growth in a very short amount of time. And there's a couple things that I kind of attribute that to. So first and foremost is the fact that I kind of, again, it was the mindset side of things. To me, going from 4K to 12K was a huge jump in my mind. I mean, I was tripling what I had to do, what I had already done, and I'd kind of just been coasting there. And so in my mind, I was telling myself, like, there's not much has changed in my business. There's no, like, how am I going to take myself and my team? How are we going to take ourselves to that next level? And I just couldn't see that, that path. But what I found out is, one, it wasn't as hard. I mean, it takes work. Don't get me wrong. It takes work, but it was not as big of a jump as I thought it was going to be. It was just more terrifying than anything. And so in that process, one of the biggest things that I realized is that I was holding myself back. I was telling myself that limiting belief of, you're not, like, I wasn't telling myself I wasn't going to make it till past 4K because 12K was my goal. I mean, that's what I have written on my sticky note on my computer and all that kind of stuff. That's what I was envisioning, but I wasn't actually believing it. Like, I didn't actually think that I could take that jump. And I was essentially talking myself out of it. And so that was one of the big aha moments that I saw recently, with that side of things. But another big one, and this is one I'm still working on. When I came in to work the business. My husband had just separated from the military. He was our sole provider income wise. We didn't really know what we were going to do. And so I had the mindset that I wanted to build this as a business. But again, this is my third direct sales company. And I hadn't achieved that at my previous companies. And so again, in the back of my head, I was like, well, yeah. And I say this all the time, like, I had the what do we have to lose mentality, because obviously getting started, there's no additional business fees. There's nothing like that. So it was kind of like, well, what do we have to lose at this point? And so in my head, that was still kind of ingrained. I didn't really see myself with the business. To me, I referred to it as a side gig. I referred to it as, not fun money, but in that sense, that's what I thought about. Like, I wasn't assigning bills to my paycheck. I wasn't, trying to make it, put a value to it, essentially. Like, it was just like, okay, if I did it, I did it, but there was no value. There was nothing that was pushing me, but also there was nothing that was making me treat it as a business. I was putting in the work, I was doing all the things, but again, in my head, I wasn't doing it for the bigger picture. I wasn't doing it for the income. And so that is one thing that I have been working on and am still working on, to this day. So those are two big mindset shifts. Another thing that I did, and this was a big one, is as soon as those bonuses dropped, I switched my content. I switched my focus. I started focusing on a team. I focused on building. I focused on recruiting. I shared any and every little thing that I could, whether it was my win, whether it was my girls' wins, or whether it was on our team, or even side sisters. Like, I was constantly sharing. I was showcasing what this business could do. I was showcasing the opportunity, and I was just talking about it nonstop, to the point where I was like, okay, I'm probably starting to kind of turn people off, start to annoy them a little bit too much. But then I reminded myself that that is what I did with Bobby. Before I pulled the trigger, I walked away. Like, I stopped watching her content because she was constantly sharing, like, she was sharing the opportunity. And if you guys don't know, Bobby and I actually came from the same team from a previous company. So I told myself, I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. That's what she did to me. Guys, we got a team call. If you didn't know, we got a team call. My alarm just went off. What are you doing, bud? You want to come here?
No.
They're downstairs. You want to go ask Daddy?
Yeah.
Okay, go. He's downstairs.
Daddy?
Oh, careful, you're gonna knock the whole thing over. Okay, sorry guys, real life over here. So basically, what were we talking about? Bobby, what was I talking about? Come on mute.
You were talking about how we came from that same.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And how it transferred to you coming back to actually watching me versus blocking me.
Perfect. I never officially blocked you. But okay, so I realized that I was hitting those pain points like that. That's exactly what Bobby did to me. She hit the pain points of the success that I didn't have at my previous company. She hit the pain point of the fact that I was constantly spinning my wheels and like I wasn't getting to where I wanted to. The pain point of putting more into your business than you're getting out. Like, she was constantly sharing. Look at downstairs. Sharing to the point of me getting annoyed. But it wasn't because of what she was doing. It's because of what I was taking away from it, the pain points that she was hitting for me, the frustration that I was having. And so I realized, like, I don't care, like, if I am annoying people, I don't care if I'm sharing too much. Like, I am diving in 100% on the promoter side. And that's exactly what I did. And in the process, my team has grown. My team has, I've been able to bring on a lot of girls, but also my leadership has stepped up in the process because I was focusing on the promoter side of things. I feel like personally that, my growth in my leadership area has grown. And now I'm able to teach that to my girls because now I'm seeing their growth in the leadership side of things. So that was also another thing. So in the process of, shifting and sharing, my content's changing. But I was also watching my mentors. I was watching what the girls above me are doing. I was watching side sisters, seeing what they're doing. And I was putting that into action. I wasn't just sitting on it. I was starting to share. So I was constantly watching Bobby and Laurel and taking different bits and pieces because we're not the same people. We're not going to share all the same stuff. Our content is going to be different. But I was taking the mindset that they had, first of all, but also the kind of stuff that they were sharing. And I was tweaking it for my people because, again, my team is going to look a little bit different than their team is going to be. And then another big thing on the business side of things, and this is specific for bonus season, is I was investing back into my business. And this can look like a lot of different things. So for me, because we dropped double QV, I can tell you right now, that was a big part of me in the very first month locking in my business. That was the green light to me or locking in 12K. That was the green light to me. Like, even halfway through the month, like in my first month, I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. Like, I don't know if I'm going to lock 12K in. And then, my team rallied, they dropped the double QV. And not only did I lock in 12K, but two of my girls were able to lock in 4K. And so that just kind of catapulted and allowed for that growth. And then just kind of stepping into that role again. But when I say investing into my business, I was essentially for the QV. I was doing cashback offers. I was doing anything and everything that I could to be able to get people to pull the trigger. And so essentially any commission that I was making off of a pack, I was giving back, whether that was to my team, offering incentives to my team, or just straight up to my customers, to my people enrolling, all of that kind of stuff. I was giving that cash back because I was hungry. I was investing in my business, those little wins with the commission and the fast start bonuses, all of that, putting it back into my business to go for the big win. And in the end, it paid off. So those were some big things on the mindset and the business, the promoter side of things. Now, kind of flipping to the customer side of things, one thing that I did here is I sampled my ass off. And this is another way that I said, I invested in my business. I bought an $800 pack on the double QV, and I straight up used that entire 800 pack to go towards samples. I sent out 27 samples last month. 90% of them were free. 90% were free. And the reason I did that, again, is I was just taking that leap of faith, that investment into my business, that the benefits were going to pay out in the long run, again, because I was just hungry. But if you don't have the funds to do that, if you don't have the ability to buy a pack or be able to give out free samples, there's other incentives that you can do. You can maybe they pay for their sample, and then if they end up purchasing, you can give them credits to go in that amount to go towards their purchase. Or maybe you can do a fun little giveaway so that you are having multiple people going in for the same reward. And their way to enter is by, snagging their sample pack and paying for it and that kind of stuff. So there's other ways to think out of the box, but if financially, because this does have to fit your finances. I'm not telling you to go out there and buy an $800 pack if you can't afford it. That by no means do that. But there are different ways to kind of think outside of the box. And if you're struggling in that area, reach out to your mentor, reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to kind of figure out some other ways, brainstorm, throw some ideas out there to help bring some people in, because I am a firm believer that getting these products in people's hands, getting people to sample these products is going to pay out in the long run. I think I counted yesterday, I think of my 27 that I sent out, at least 12 of them have purchased. And some of them are still in the sampling process. I've probably had 2 or 3 that told me, no, it's not for them, it's going to happen. But I have very good turnaround rate. And again, there's a couple different ways that I found my samples. So I actually stumbled into this. I didn't go into the month being like, I'm going to send out samples. What happened is I locked in my bonus last month, and my girls locked in their bonuses. And for the override, you have to have 10 free samples. And so one of the ways that I brought people on, one of the ways that I got samples out was I messaged people. I was like, hey, I've got a challenge going on. I need to have some new customer accounts. Would you be willing to get one set up? I'd be more than happy to send you a sample for you to try out. Either way, it's no strings attached. And so I had a lot of people let me set up their free accounts. And in the process, 7 of my 10 wanted samples. And so that's kind of how it started. And then I continued offering that. But I also got out of my comfort zone. I have been on the phone and talking to people in person more than I have done my entire business in this month alone. I've been bold at my chiropractor's office. I have dropped off an insane amount of samples with them. And I'm just hopping on the phone because a lot of my clientele lately seems to be a little bit older. And so I've just been hopping on, and they're old school. They want to talk to somebody. And even though that, I'm the person waits till the 4th ring before I actually answer the call. I'm like, do I really want to answer this? I don't know. So that has been a big one, is I encourage you to really step outside of your comfort zone and start networking in different ways, not just necessarily on your social media platform, but connecting with others or offering to make that phone call to hop on and explain things to them a little bit better. And then, the other way I've tapped in for samples is referrals. I have been offering, again, I've personally been offering free samples to my girls, to offering them 2 free samples, like, hey, I'd love to help you get you thriving for free. Do you have anybody that might be interested in this? And so I've actually brought on a couple clientele that way. But again, if you don't have the ability to do free samples, you could offer credits to both the person coming on or a free product that you might have on hand. Like, there's different ways to kind of get around that if you can't do the free sample thing. But those are kind of the ways that I have been tackling it in terms of getting samples out, in terms of the mindset shift and being able to grow. Because I feel like it's been multiple different areas. I am not someone that's big on personal development, and it's not because I don't believe in it. It's because I just haven't found the thing that really works for me. So I'm still kind of playing around in that area, but I have definitely realized that the mindset, the things that I was telling myself was a roadblock for me. That was something that I had to overcome. Another big one for me, and I know my stay-at-home moms might be able to relate to this, but I mean, I went from no income to now essentially like seeing the bigger picture of possibly like retiring my husband and doing all that kind of stuff. And for me, there was a lot of fear in that. Like, I never wanted that responsibility. I'll take care of 10 babies all damn day, but put me in charge of our finances, put me in charge of like that responsibility of bringing home the money. That was terrifying to me. I never wanted to work. Which sounds horrible. Of course I would work to support my family, but that was never my goal. And so I had a lot of mindset, and this can look different for everybody, but I had a lot of mindset stuff that I needed to kind of tackle along the way. And then of course, like the getting outside of your comfort zone and diving in, focusing on the promoter, but also focusing on the customer side of things. So I hope I've kind of given some suggestions on where you can build, where you can focus on like both the customer side, like ways to bring people in, but also focus on that promoter side, because in the end, being able to build your team, being able to step into that leadership role, one, to me is like the biggest blessing. That's probably been the most fun that I have had since starting this business, is being able to help others, being able to step and grow in the leadership side of things. But with that being said, if anybody has some questions about samples or anything, mindset or anything like that, speak up, drop it in the chat, and I can get those answered. If not, I will let you guys go.
I had a quick question, Cathy, because like I'm generally like curious about this. I am okay with samples and I like them, and they 1000% got my business like up off the ground when I very first started. But now it's like when I send out samples, people are like, "Oh, I don't know, like I'll think about it." You know, it's hard for me to close that gap from sampling to the sale. How do you do that in conversation with them?
Okay, so first and foremost, I am in constant communication with them. So I am messaging. I use Pirate Ship. So for if anybody's sending out samples, I recommend Pirate Ship. You can literally print out the label at home. It's cheaper, and you just pop it in the mailbox. But so I'm in constant communication with Pirate Ship. I can see when it's delivered. So I'm messaging like, hey, I saw your pack arrive today. Just making sure that, did you get it, and all that kind of stuff. And then the next day and normally that starts a little bit of conversation. They're like either, hey, I got it, or hey, I haven't checked my mailbox yet, or anything like that. I'm like, okay, no worries. Let me know when you pick it up and we will dive in. So I'm initiating that, like, hey, once you've got your pack, we're diving in. Because again, I view this as, one, it's an investment. So I put money into it. But we're going to do this. Like, I gave you a freebie. You're not just going to like put it on your shelf. So I'm constantly checking in with them, doing step-by-step, checking in every day. Hey, how did your day go today? Are you thriving with me? If an issue arises, then we troubleshoot then and there, because that's the one thing that I want to happen, is whether or not, like, maybe somebody had a rough day with the first day or something happened. I don't want them to just chalk it up to a loss and not finish the samples. So I'm constantly checking in with them as we go. If they had an awesome day, then I am signing them. I'm offering the pack right then and there. I'm like, hey, okay, awesome. Let's get you set up so that you can get your stuff before you run out of your samples. All of our stuff ships priority. Let's get you going. If it was kind of a, wishy-washy day, or maybe they're like, yeah, I can't wait to see what the full 3 days does for me. Again, just continuing that conversation. Sometimes in the end, it's pretty much either they want to hop on board and try it out. If they're kind of wishy-washy, typically I will offer them a promo or something, like give them a $20 cash back or credits to kind of lessen it, help them pull the trigger because they're not quite on board yet. So kind of give them an incentive to hop in with me. Other times, it can take a little bit longer. And then I'm still checking in. Like I'm letting them know, hey, I didn't forget about you. Every 3 days or so, I'm popping in their inbox like, hey, you ready to pull the trigger, or like something along those lines. I'm just not really giving up. I'm fairly persistent. And so far it's been pretty good. I actually, one of the reasons I wanted to do the call now is because, I forgot to share this, I try to get the majority of my samples out in the first week, if not 2 weeks of the month. That way they have time to not only receive the shipment, they have the couple days that they may take to get started. Then they have their 3 days of trying it. And then some people take those extra days at the end. But my goal is to have the people locked in. So pretty much everybody in the beginning of last month either purchased or told me no. The ones that I sent out in those first 2 weeks, I had closed by the end of the month. The people that are still trying were the people that I got out in like the last week and a half or so. And so those are kind of rolling over into this month. But my goal is always to have at least 15 of them sent out by like the 10th, 12th. I have about 10 right now, so I'm a little bit behind. But that's kind of always my goal, is to get them out in the beginning of the month so that they pay out by the end of the month, essentially. But so hopefully that kind of helped clarify the follow-up process. Okay. Anybody else with questions?
Okay, I got a couple for you.
Okay.
About samples. So I know a lot of the girls are probably going to ask this because this is what popped in my mind. How are you finding these people? Like, who are they? How have you connected with them before? Are they watching you? Like, talk about like your steps, like how you do it.
Okay. So it's been a little bit of everything, to be honest. So those first ones in the beginning of the month, the free customer accounts, those were kind of people that I was close to. Actually, a lot of them were people that maybe I had talked to in the past and they told me no. But I was their family, their friends, their people I could just shoot them straight, be like, hey, I got a free challenge. There's no strings attached. Would you mind if I set this up for you? I'd love to shoot you some samples. So that's how I got my best friend, because she had told me no, she wasn't interested. She actually still uses the Beachbody products. And so she was like, sure, why not? Like, I'll give it a go. Nobody's going to especially if you're offering the free samples and they know you, they're not going to pass that up. But with that being said, I would guard your free samples a little bit. Like the other day, I kind of read people a little bit in my conversations. And so I had somebody reach out to me. It was a completely new conversation, never talked to her before. It actually had, I think it was on one of my posts or something. And so she had said she was interested. And so I was like, hey, okay, we have two options. We can get you set up or we can do samples. They're $25 and all that kind of stuff. And I could tell based off of the conversation that the money was going to be an issue. And I'm not saying like it's a waste, but I had no relationship with this person. And I don't want to just send out $25 to $30 in product and not have it pay out. Like, yes, there's some people that I'm more willing to go out on the limb for because I have a relationship with them. Either they've been following me for a long time, or like, it doesn't have to be a conversation, but even the fact that they've been watching me for a long time, that's a relationship. That's something that I have built with them. And so just offering it to people that had already told me no, but I knew that the product would help them because they've complained to me about energy or stuff like that. Like I said, a lot of it has, quite a few of them came from me offering my current customers referrals. So offering them 2 free samples because I want to help them get thriving for free. That has been a good avenue. In doing so, I try to get put in connection with that person. So anytime I send out samples, I have a little note in there that I send them. I put my phone number and I'm like, hey, let me know when you get your package. So I can help you have the best experience is how I say it. That way they have an incentive to connect with me so they don't miss anything in the process to actually like with these products helping them. And then the networking. So in person, I don't get out much. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I do go to a chiropractor every Wednesday. And so every Wednesday, normally my patches aren't necessarily visible because I wear the Elite, I put it on my butt and all that kind of stuff. But when I go to the chiropractor, they're always visible, always, because that is essentially marketing for you. And so I've been wearing them for a while. And then my chiropractor straight up asked me, he's like, hey, what is that patch? And I was like, and then I went into my spiel. And then from there, the girls in the front desk overheard. And so I'm having a conversation with them about it. And then I was very strategic about when I went to drop off my samples for him, because I went at the close of business, like literally their doors were closing. I wanted to drop them off so that I could have one-on-one, not in the middle of business hours where things were crazy. And I almost pooped my pants in the process. Like I was sweating bullets. My bra was soaked when I left because I hate this kind of stuff. But I wanted to have that one-on-one conversation with them and have the employees over here in the process. So I went in with 1 sample pack, which the other thing, always have sample packs in your car, always, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know, you can slide it into a conversation. I went into the office with 1, but I had like 5 sitting in my car so that when the other girl started asking questions, I'm like, oh yeah, let me go grab you another sample. And so then I left them with a bunch of samples. But that has been the majority of so the new customer accounts, the referrals, and then just in-person networking. I will say, because I get this question all the time, or I get a lot of people telling me they're discouraged, I very rarely have somebody ask for a sample on my polls or in my post or on my reels. Like they don't come. Yes, every once in a while, if I post a transformation or something like that, which is another thing, make sure you're constantly sharing transformations. Doesn't have to be yours. Highly recommend sharing yours, but you can share from the team. You can share from other teams, all that kind of stuff. But I highly recommend sharing those. But even with that, it's very rare that somebody just takes my poll and asks for it. These conversations are happening in personal messaging. They are happening with me reaching out to people, whether I saw something on stories, it's happening just in our conversations. A lot of my samples, because I was not focused on samples prior, so it didn't always register with me to offer them in our conversations. So some of them were me going back to people before that were on the fence, but either money was an issue or they just didn't pull the trigger for some reason. I went back and I reached out to all of them and I offered them a free sample, and I got a customer account in the process. But I think that's kind of the main areas that they came from.
That's awesome. That's like really, really awesome. Okay. So my last question is this. What do you do as a leader when you have someone that comes to you? What are the things that you are doing to help your team within their businesses? If someone comes to you and they're feeling very stuck and kind of mentally shut down, what would you tell that person? Things for them to start working on, paying attention to. What would you say?
Okay. So first and foremost, when somebody is feeling stuck, or kind of down because they haven't had a whole lot of progress or anything like that, typically we are revisiting everything that we have already accomplished, everything that they already have going in their business. Because I think a lot of times, when we're so focused on that next goal, we forget kind of where we came from. We forget the accomplishments that we've had in the process. So we're constantly reevaluating that. Some things that I focus on, or I tell them to focus on, is consistency. The number one thing in this business is your consistency, is your ability to show up. I can't tell you the number of times like people have mentioned to me, like, you know, they've watched these products, they've watched other promoters share, and, you know, they've been interested, but then they kind of disappear. And so I've straight up had people tell me, like, your consistency is why I'm choosing to go with you. So being consistent, focusing on that, because what you do, and this is so true, and it's hard to kind of accept in this business, but what you're doing now may not pay out tomorrow, may not pay out next week. Honestly, it may pay out in 6 months from now. Because like I said, like I've had customers from the very beginning that are just now coming on board. Like they want to see your journey. I hear people say this before, and I never really believed it, but people are watching you to see if you fail, to see if you quit. So they're kind of seeing if you persevere past that step. And if you do, you've built that relationship of know, love, and trust. And now they're willing to commit with you. So always just kind of just focusing on being consistent, focusing on showing up, not only for yourself, because that's first and foremost, like, you know, we want to be in this for ourselves, to build and focus on ourselves, growth, you know, our own personal journey, that kind of stuff, but also so other people are seeing that. Another one is, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Focusing on the consistency. I lost it. Oh, that's it. If you need to unplug, like if somebody is coming to me and my team is like, my girls are frustrated, like I tell them to take a step back, evaluate, you know, kind of like what is going on in your life right now? What is the priority? Because this business is not always going to be your priority. And one thing that I have learned is, if something is being affected outside of my business, it comes into my business. Like if there's something going on that I need to deal with outside of the business, it is going to trickle into this. So our priorities are constantly changing. There's different seasons. There's certain, like I told the girls in the chat the other day, I was like, okay, I got to take a day. I need to reset. I'm feeling like, you know, too many things in my life have kind of been put to the side. I need to have some family time, that kind of stuff. Being able to fill your cup, being able to step back is really, really important. Being able to recognize in yourself, in your business, when you kind of need to have a reset is really important, because the number one thing that I feel like causes failure in this business is, one, our mindset, getting in our own way, getting in our head, but also just getting burnout. So a lot of times when it's just that frustration, and sometimes we need to step away from that, get a reset in whatever way you can kind of fill your cup, and then come back at it with fresh eyes, with a fresh start, and then dive back in. But those are kind of the consistency, the reset, and just remembering like how much you've already come in the amount of time that you've been here. What you've already been able to accomplish are the main focuses that we kind of dive into. Any other questions? Now that my pits are sweating, guys. Hate these kind of things. This is the growth part, right? This is the growth. Okay, so I don't think there's any other questions. So I will let you ladies go. Laurel, before we turn it off, actually, let me turn this off.